right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are today going to move on to Act 4 of The Tragedy of Hamlet. We are moving right along here through the scenes, and these next few scenes are very, very brief. So I'd like for us to please read through scenes 1, 2, and 3 today. We'll see how much we can cover in this video, but I would like for us to at least cover those scenes. So if you have not yet read through them, like I always say, eyes on the page before we discuss. Please pause this video, come back to it when you have finished reading through. I'm going to assume that you have paused to read, and now we'll come back. Okay, so welcome back from your reading. I hope it was wonderful. Here is scene 1. Let's go. So the king and the queen now are meeting after Hamlet has left. And remember that Gertrude is beside herself because she believes now that her son is truly mad. She does not trust anymore in him because he has proven himself by bending his eye on the incorporeal air, right? He's kind of proven himself to be crazy. She watched him talk to nothing and say that it was his father's ghost. So she's now very deeply concerned. And the king enters with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern and says to the queen, "There's matter in these sighs, these profound heaves. You must translate. Tell me what's wrong," basically. This is very much, what's the matter? What's going on? "'Tis fit we understand them. Where is your son?" he says. "Where is your son?" And Gertrude says, "Bestow this place on us a little while." She asks Rosencrantz and Guildenstern to give them some privacy. Then she says, "Ah, mine own lord, what have I seen tonight?" She can't even believe what has just transpired. But notice how she references Claudius, right? What does she call him? Mine own lord, right? My own lord. He is the king, so he is in charge, but there's also a sense of kind of ownership there, right, that she bestows on him. And Claudius, of course, "What, Gertrude? How does Hamlet? What's happened?" And she says, Claudius asks, "How is Hamlet?" And she says, "Mad as the sea and wind, when both contend which is the mightier. He is as crazy as the sea and the wind," basically in the midst of a hurricane, right? When they argue, the wind and the sea, which is stronger. It's like a hurricane. "In his lawless fit behind the arras, hearing something stir, whips out his rapier, cries, 'A rat, a rat,' and in this brainish apprehension kills the unseen good old man." So we see how Gertrude characterizes Polonius there, and this is the moment where she tells Claudius exactly what happened. And the king says, "Oh, heavy deed. It had been so with us had we been there." He realizes this is a moment of clarity for Claudius because, man, that could have been me. Had I been behind the arras, it would have been me who was killed, not Polonius. His liberty is full of threats to all. His freedom makes it dangerous for everyone. To you, yourself, to us, to everyone. Alas, how shall this bloody deed be answered? What am I going to do about this? What punishment can I give him for the murder of Polonius, right? Look what he says. "It will be laid to us, whose providence should have kept short, restrained, and out of haunt this mad young man." This is going to be blamed on me, Claudius says. This is going to be my fault. People are going to see this as my fault because I didn't do anything to restrain Hamlet earlier. I should have done something about him when I noticed he was going mad, but I didn't. And so now Polonius's death is going to be blamed on me. "But so much was our love, we would not understand what was most fit, but, like the owner of a foul disease, to keep it from divulging, let it feed even on the pith of life." He says, "Well, because I loved Hamlet, I just kind of let him go, and what I wound up doing was making things worse." "Where is he gone?" And the queen says, "To draw apart the body he hath killed, to take the body out of the room," basically, "or whom his very madness, like some ore among a mineral of metal space, shows itself pure. He weeps for what is done." So even though he's crazy, Gertrude says, he seems to be genuinely upset about what he has done. He weeps for it. He feels remorse and sorrow for having killed Polonius. The king replies, "Oh, Gertrude, come away. The sun no sooner shall the mountains touch," dawn, right? "But we will ship him hence. And this vile deed we must, with all our majesty and skill, both countenance and excuse." We're going to have to face this and excuse this. We're going to have to find a way, basically, to present this information to the public and to the others and, the other members of the court, etc., to face it, and then somehow or other to excuse it. We're going to have to explain Polonius's death, and how are we going to do this, right? And then he calls for Guildenstern. Guildenstern and Rosencrantz enter, and Claudius says, "Friends both, go join you with some further aid. Hamlet in madness hath Polonius slain, and from his mother's closet hath he dragged him. Go seek him out, speak fair, and bring the body into the chapel. I pray you, hasten this." So go find Hamlet, get him, figure out what he's done with Polonius's body, and bring Polonius's body into the chapel so that it can be prepared for burial. And hurry up. Come, Gertrude, we'll call up our wisest friends and let them know what we mean to do and what's untimely done, the murder of Polonius. Whose whisper o'er the world's diameter, as level as the cannon to his blank, transports his poisoned shot, may miss our name and hit the woundless air. Oh, come away, my soul is full of discord and dismay. We see Claudius in this moment already trying to manipulate and trying to think, how am I going to get away with this? How am I going to be able to excuse this? We've got to call up our wisest friends, and maybe they will be able to help us figure out a way out of this, so that the blame for this will find its place, basically, that the right people will be blamed, but we will not be blamed for it somehow, right? He, again, is looking for an excuse and a way out, all right? Scene 2, let's go. Ooh, 6 minutes for scene 1, nice. Let's keep going, scene 2, this one's really quickly. All right, we see Hamlet, Rosencrantz, and Guildenstern, and much of Hamlet's antic disposition here. Hamlet enters and says, "Safely stowed," basically safely hidden. He has hidden Polonius's body. And Rosencrantz and Guildenstern from off stage call to him. Hamlet answers, "But soft, what noise? Who calls on Hamlet?" Oh, here they come, right? And notice he's speaking of himself in the third person. Does he know if people can hear him or not right now? I don't know. Is he truly crazy right now? I don't know. Rosencrantz asks, "What have you done, my lord, with the dead body?" "Compounded it with dust, whereto 'tis kin. I've returned it to the dust," right? Where it came from. Rosencrantz, "Tell us where it is, that we may take it thence and bear it to the chapel." Hamlet turns on him, "Do not believe it." "Believe what?" "That I can keep your counsel and not mine own. That I will keep your secrets, keep your advice, and not my own. Besides, to be demanded of a sponge, what replication should be made by the son of a king? Take you me for a sponge, my lord?" Now we know what a sponge is, right? Sponge is a cleaning thing. Sponge is also something from the sea, right? That they would have kind of collected and used for cleaning. But a sponge in Elizabethan England is also another name for a drunkard. Okay, somebody who drinks too heavily. So this is a bit of an insult. And Rosencrantz, "Taking me for a sponge, my lord? Do you think I'm a sponge?" Is this because he's being crazy, or is he subtly insulting Rosencrantz? Hamlet, "Aye, sir, a sponge," basically, "that soaks up the king's countenance, his rewards, his authorities. By such officers do the king best service in the end. He keeps them like an ape, an apple, in the corner of his jaw, first mouthed to be last swallowed. When he needs what you have gleaned, it is but squeezing you, and sponge, you shall be dry again." Rosencrantz, of course, "I understand you not, my lord, but it matters that we understand him." Let's look at what he's saying very carefully. "Aye, sir, that soaks up the king's countenance." You are a sponge, Rosencrantz, one that soaks up FaceTime, if you will, with the king, okay? That soaks up the king's rewards, his authorities, right? Everything that he can give you. But such officers do the king best service in the end. Somebody who's a suck-up like you to King Claudius will do him best service in the end, because he can use you the most. Look at what else he says. He keeps them, these sponges, these people he can manipulate and use, like an ape, an apple, in the corner of his jaw. First mouthed, first bitten from the apple, kept in the corner, to be last swallowed. So biting this apple, keeping it in the back of your mouth, squeezing out all of the juice from it, right? Everything that you can get, and then swallowing it at the end. So basically what is Hamlet saying? But Claudius is only going to manipulate you. He's only going to use you. And when he has no purpose left for you, when he's gotten from you everything he can possibly take, then he'll destroy you. Hamlet doesn't sound very mad right now, does he? Underneath the madness that he's feigning, underneath this kind of crazy method that he has of talking to people, his points are valid. His points are very acute. Let's keep going. And Rosencrantz, of course, says, I understand you not, my lord. And Hamlet says, I'm glad of it. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad you don't get me. A knavish speech sleeps in a foolish ear. A clever kind of foolish speech will sleep in an idiot's ear. You wouldn't get it anyway. It's too smart for you. Rosencrantz says, my lord, you must tell us where the body is and go with us to the king. He's focused on the task at hand, right? And Hamlet says, the body is with the king, but the king is not with the body. The king is a thing. A thing, my lord? Nothing. Bring me to him. Hide, fox, and all after, and he runs off. All right, and he causes them to chase him, and it's a little bit crazy and chaotic here. But the whole king is a thing. It seems like he's starting to go off on like an antic disposition rant where he could start mocking and then just gives up halfway through and runs off. So we're not really sure what's happening there. Act 4, Scene 3. There's a king and 2 or 3 people. So let's try to do this as quickly as we can. All right, Claudius enters and he says, I have sent to seek him and to find the body. How dangerous is it that this man goes loose? Yet must not we put the strong law on him? Have you ever heard the strong arm of the law? This is where it came from. He's loved of the distracted multitude, who like not in their judgment but their eyes. And where 'tis so, the offender's scourge is weighed, but never the offense. We've got to talk about this part. Claudius is saying it's so dangerous that Hamlet is on the loose. But we have to be careful how we punish him. We must not put the strong law on him. He's loved of the distracted multitude. The people of Denmark love him. All right? And it's not that they like with judgment, but they like with their eyes. They like what appears and not what actually is, Claudius is saying. The people of Denmark judge only by appearance, right? They love Hamlet because of who Hamlet is, but they don't really know Hamlet, so they can't judge his character, right? But where 'tis so, where it is like that, the offender's scourge is weighed, but never the offense. So, somebody who is famous, a celebrity that's well loved of the population, is often, the people are often more concerned with that person's punishment than they are concerned with that person's crime. Think about pop culture right now. Can you think of a celebrity whose crime perhaps has been overlooked because there was more outrage about the punishment that person was getting than an actual crime? It's happened through pop culture, right? Think about it. Society will often react when they love a celebrity for whatever reason. They will react more strongly to a punishment than the actual crime itself. All right, and that's what Claudius is worried about. I have to be careful how I punish him because people are going to get mad at me for punishing Hamlet, even though he murdered Polonius. All right, to bear all smooth and even, the sudden sending him away must seem deliberate pause. I can't make it look like this sending him to England was a reaction. I have to make it look like we've been planning this for a while. Diseases desperate grown by desperate appliance are relieved or not at all. Big problems are sometimes solved by big solutions, or they are not solved at all. Okay? Rosencrantz, Guildenstern, the rest all come in. How now it hath befallen? Rosencrantz, where the dead body is bestowed, my lord, we cannot get from him. But where is he? Without, my lord, guarded to know your pleasure. Bring him before us. So they've got Hamlet outside of Claudius's chamber here, waiting to be called in, and they can't find Polonius's body. Rosencrantz, ho, bring in the lord. They enter with Hamlet. Now, Hamlet, where's Polonius? Now, the king is furious right now, okay? So imagine this scene. Claudius is furious, and Hamlet is acting like a lunatic. Where's Polonius? At supper. At supper. Where? Not where he eats, but where he is eaten. A certain convocation of politic worms are e'en at him. Your worm is your only emperor for diet. We fat all creatures else to fat us, and we fat ourselves for maggots. Your fat king and your lean beggar is but variable surface, 2 dishes, but to 1 table. That's the end. And alas, this is nonsense to Claudius, right? But think about what Hamlet's saying right now. Everybody goes to worms eventually, right? We all fatten ourselves up for the maggots. That's the end of that. And Hamlet continues, a man may fish with the worm that hath ed of a king, and eat of the fish that hath fed of that worm. Okay, I'm so confused by this. What are you talking about, right? What does that mean by this? Nothing, but to show you how a king may go a progress through the guts of a beggar. He's actually calling Claudius something here, which would not be polite for me to say, but I will show you. Um, Hamlet is basically saying, I'm only saying this to show you how a king's corpse will ultimately be eaten by a worm, which will be eaten by a fish, and the fish will ultimately be eaten by a king. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Let me back that up because I got myself confused. Back up. How a king's corpse will feed a worm. That worm will feed a fish. That fish will feed a beggar. Thus, the king's body works its way through the digestive system of the beggar, becoming. Thus, he is calling Claudius. Okay. And the king, where is Polonius? Hamlet replies, in heaven. Send thither to see. Send to heaven to see. If your messenger find him not there, seek him in the other place yourself. So he tells Claudius directly, you can go to hell. But if indeed you find him not within this month, you shall nose him as you go up the stairs into the lobby. Well, if you don't find his body in a month, you'll smell him as you go up this corridor. Blech, gross. And the king to some attendant, go seek him there. And then Hamlet calls after the attendant, he'll stay till you get there. He'll stay till you come. Okay. Severe antic disposition here. All right, and the king tells him, Hamlet, this deed for thine especial safety, which we do tender as we dearly grieve for that which thou hast done, must send thee hence with fiery quickness. Therefore prepare thyself. The bark is ready. The bark is the ship, right? The wind at help. The associates tend and everything is bent for England. Hamlet, for England, I, Hamlet. And Hamlet replies, good. So it is, if thou knewest our purposes. And Hamlet, I see a cherub that sees them. But come, for England. Farewell, dear mother, he says to Claudius. He calls Claudius mother. Watch this. Thy loving father, Hamlet. Claudius is very confused. Hamlet replies, my mother. Father and mother is man and wife. Man and wife is one flesh, and so, my mother. Come, for England. And off he goes. And sometimes in Brana's version, he kisses Claudius. My mother, goodbye, mother. It's ridiculous, but very comical. So in this scene, he has already called him a pile of. He has told him to go to hell. He has called him a woman. Basically called him his mother, right? And all in his antic disposition. So think of how many ways he's able to insult Claudius in this scene. Now, he exits, and the king says, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, follow him at foot, tempt him with speed aboard, get him on that ship, right? Delay it not. I'll have him hence tonight, away, for everything is sealed and done, that else leans on the affair. Pray you make haste. They all leave, and then we have Claudius's soliloquy at the end of this. Look at what he says. And England, if my love thou hold'st at aught, as my great power thereof may give thee sense, since yet thy cicatrice looks raw and red after the Danish sword, and thy free awe pays homage to us. England, since you owe us so much, the Danes, thou mayest not coldly set our sovereign process, which imports at full, by letters congruing to that effect, the present death of Hamlet. Do it, England. For like the hectic in my blood he rages, and thou must cure me. Till I know 'tis done, howe'er my haps, my joys were ne'er begun. So we see Claudius here telling the audience some dramatic irony, right? That the letters he has written to England demand the present death of Hamlet. As soon as Hamlet gets to England and presents these letters to the King of England, he is to be executed as a favor to Denmark. And Claudius basically says at the end of this, until I know that this is finished and he is dead, I will not be happy. It will be as if I've never been happy. So, we see a lot of foreshadowing, we see a lot of rising action here, we see a lot of dramatic irony. Please make sure that you catch up on your study guides, scenes 1 through 3, and tomorrow we'll work scenes 4, 5, and hopefully 6. Have a great day.